It's often a telling sign when you start a review by spending maybe 30 seconds setting up the speakers and putting some music on purely with the intention of just putting some hours on the speakers before any serious listening begins. I'm sure you've all been there, and 3 hours later you're still sitting there, big smile on your face, because you've just been really enjoying what you've been hearing, and at that point it would be very easy to get a little bit over excited. But when you dig a little deeper, scratch beneath the surface, you can normally find a few shortcomings, and there are potentially a couple here. But I don't want to take anything away from the DynAudio Evoke 10, because I feel like how they've been designed to sound, they are really very impressive. So this is the 10th and final speaker review from a large Stand Mount speaker group mega test that I've been doing, and the Evoke 10 as the 10th speaker. Am I really that clever? Sadly, no. The Evoke 10 just arrived a little late, but I'm really glad I got to include them in this group test. That means in this review I will be comparing them to all the other 9 speakers in the test. So that means the KEF LS50 META, the Buchardt S300 Mark II SE, the ATC SCM11, the Amphion Argon1, the Acoustic Energy AE500, the Neat Acoustics Mojo SX3, the Sonus Faber Lumina 1, the Ophidian Mojo 2, and the SVS Ultra bookshelf speakers. And all of these speaker reviews are already up in my YouTube channel, and they're easily found on the home page. That is some crazy stiff competition, and yet the Evoke 10 still stand out, and I'm sure you are already quite familiar with DynAudio. They are a Danish high-end speaker manufacturer that was formed back in the 1970s, and they make speakers for home, pro, car and custom installation, ranging from very affordable to much less so. And for home audio, DynAudio offer a wide range of speakers, with the Evoke series sitting in about the middle. And the Evoke 10 cost £1,250. They are a rear-ported two-way speaker with some very interesting technology behind them. Firstly is the 28mm or 1.1 inch Ceratar tweeter. And this tweeter is a brand new design that is derived from DynAudio's flagship Confidence range of speakers, with the big trickle-down technology being Hexis, which is an inner dome to improve unwanted resonances and smooth out the high frequency response from the tweeter. And moving down is the 140mm or 5.5 inch mid-bass driver called EsoTech Plus, which is made from a material DynAudio developed in-house called MSP, magnesium silicate polymer. And there are quite a few technologies that make this driver stand out, and one that stood out to me is that the driver is made from a single 0.4mm thick piece of MSP, and then the dust cap forms part of the playing surface. And DynAudio say that all the technologies used in the EsoTech Plus driver means there is more control over the cone's movement, even at loud volumes, for a better bass and mid-range. And the trapezoid type shaped cabinet of very modest dimensions is made from MDF, and it's styled to be screwless, and I think this natural veneer walnut wood finish is very nice, and the speakers look clean from every angle. There is a lot to take in technically about the Evoke 10 speakers, and quite unusually they are 6 ohm speakers with a low sensitivity of 84 decibels, which means you're probably going to want a reasonably powerful amplifier with them. DynAudio have chosen to use the very low crossover point of 1.4 kHz, which is an even lower crossover point than Amphion use in the Argon1. And that is really interesting because it's not a commonly used crossover point for DynAudio across their other speakers, or definitely not for their other speakers in the Evoke range. Unlike Amphion, who've chosen to use the low crossover point across all of their speakers, which means it's a design choice decision that is product wide. DynAudio have chosen to go with a specific design for the Evoke 10, which I'm sure is part of why they have their quite unique sound character. And I suppose one of the luxuries of manufacturing all your own drivers means that you can, I suppose, make the decision of exactly how you want a speaker to sound, and then you can design and manufacture the drivers in order to achieve that sound. Manufacturing your own drivers, I'm sure, gives you lots more manufacturing flexibility. And setup of the Evoke 10 was pretty easy. It didn't take me long to find a happy place for them in my room in terms of time alignment and towing. And I opted for a good amount of towing. And as I mentioned, I listened to them a lot before I pulled out a microphone to properly dial in their sound in my room with a full Dirac Live calibration. And this is how they measured. Some of this really surprised me and some didn't. Overall, you can see the Evoke 10 have been designed with a specific character in mind, and they are measuring fairly neutral from 700 Hz to about 7 kHz, with a slight dip in the response in the crossover region, 1.4 kHz. Remember, what might not be obvious because it's very up and down as bass response always is, but this bass response from a small stand mount speaker is very strong in my room from 200 Hz and down, which you can very much hear in person. But at the other end, quite surprising was the early treble roll-off from about 7 kHz. And if we look at the Buchardt S300 Mark II SE in my room's response, you can see they measure very different in terms of the treble, as do the Acoustic Energy AE500. So from these measurements, it looks to me like the Evoke 10 has been designed with a bit of an S-curve shaped frequency response. I could have that wrong, that is just how I see it. For sound quality, the Evoke 10 are really quite unique in this group test, but to give them some comparison clarification, I think they sound somewhere in between the Buchardt S300 Mark II and the Acoustic Energy AE500, but not really, although they seem the closest for me to compare. Let's start with what really stood out to me for sound quality with the Evoke 10, and the first thing that hit me literally was their bass. It's big, it's solid, it's really punchy, it's very tight and rhythmic. And for me, the best bit about it is it's bouncy. It has that rich, warm, bouncy character that with the right music seems to give you a musical cuddle that definitely helps to get your head nodding and your feet tapping. But put on some Asterix, psytrance, electronic music, and the Evoke 10 still give you a bit of a bass pounding to a point. And how is that possible from such a small 5.5-inch driver and small enclosure? It must all be down to the DynAudio driver technologies that we spoke about before. And I absolutely love the bass from the Evoke 10 for all of these reasons. Is it quite as fast articulate as the bass from the LS50 META or Ophidian Mojo 2? Possibly not, and it doesn't feel as substantial as the bass from the Buchardt S300 or SVS Ultra speakers, but they are much larger. But I really got a lot of bass satisfaction in terms of quality and just the way the bass is delivered from the Evoke 10. It's this aspect that makes the Evoke 10 sound bigger than you would expect, but it's the transition into the mid-range and the vocal delivery that really knits all of this together, because vocals have a fullness and a saturated tonality to them, a warmth to them that is massively gratifying. And in the track Winston Churchill's Boy by Benjamin Clementine, it's a great example of that, where you get a lovely big, full saturated, tonally warm vocal in that track. Are they as cleanly or crisply delivered as from the LS50 META, Amphion Argon1 or Acoustic Energy AE500? Probably not, but there is enough clarity there, combined with the excellent tonality and richness, which I think a lot of audiophiles would really enjoy. And the big piano notes at the beginning of that track sounded big, full, tonally satisfying, and very impressive and enjoyable to listen to. And the soundstage delivery from the Evoke 10 is also really interesting, because it's not your very atypical hi-fi speaker delivery trying to overly organise and space everything out. Timing is very good, so it's an organised delivery that is very lively, large and tangible, and at times you feel very much part of the music, with each element of the soundstage being presented suitably large, always tonally satisfying, clear and easy to follow. One thing that I did notice was that the more you turn the volume up on the amplifier, the tighter the bass seemed to get, which makes me think back to that spec of 84 decibel sensitivity for the speakers, which means I think you probably need a good amplifier, one that's got a good amount of power and definitely control, in order to get the Evoke 10s to really shine. And I feel like I was starting to hear some of what's really great about the amplifier I was using for this group test, the Lima Tucana 2 Anniversary. for its grip on the speakers for control. And I also feel like the technology in the EsoTech Plus drivers are doing what DynAudio says about them. Now I know you are all waiting for the but, because I can see it in your eyes, and there kind of is a but here depending on how you see things. Going back to that in-room frequency response, remember the treble rolled off really quite early. And that means the Evoke 10 sound very smooth and warm and tonally satisfying in the mid-range as we have spoke about. And it also means the treble is delivered smooth, but not quite as crisp and present as some of the other speakers in this group test. And this may or may not be important to you. And what I would say is, from a lot of the music I listen to, like mainstream type music, I didn't really notice anything. However, with classical music, the big crescendos, which can be quite attacking sometimes on some speakers, well, they wasn't quite as, attacking with the Evoke 10. And other music, more heavier rock type music, that higher frequency intensity, which kind of makes your face want to purse up a little bit like this at times, well, that wasn't delivered so face pursing as with some other speakers, which might or might not be a good thing for you. And to confirm I had this correct, I did a listening comparison between the Acoustic Energy AE500 and the Evoke 10, and I used the track Lost Without You by Freya Ridings. The Acoustic Energies deliver female vocals in quite a special way, and yet straight away Freya sounded crisp and very tonally satisfying, with a soundstage layout how you would expect from a Stand Mount speaker at this price and quality. Then listening to the same track on the Evoke 10, the female vocal wasn't as crisp or as forward present in the soundstage. The vocal was a little bit further back, and it didn't have quite the same special character as from the AE500, but the vocal had loads of tonality and smoothness, and the overall scale of that song seemed bigger. And then switching to some asterisks, quite heavy hitting psytrance, electronic music, the AE500 sounded precise and clear in its delivery, but it felt a little speaker limited. The Evoke 10 traded off some treble crispness, precision, but created a larger and grander perceived sound, with a perceived bigger and more hard-hitting bass. And I'm sure one of those is more technically correct than the other, but it's the one that I preferred listening to more that's more important, right? To summarise, I think DynAudio have created a very standout speaker with the Evoke 10 because it has a very strong character, and whenever a product is like that, it will likely have a Marmite type effect. Some will love it and maybe some won't. However, I think DynAudio have boxed very clever with the Evoke 10 because not only do they look really nice and they are very compact, I think their sound quality will really appeal to a lot of audiophiles because they are designed to be really engaging, lively and fun sounding speakers that are very easy to listen to, and that are trying to make your favourite music a little bit more of a special event to listen to by making your favourite music sound big and tonally satisfying. And I also think they'll be quite forgiving of your source quality material and maybe where that material is coming from. And I have really enjoyed listening to them. They've definitely made a very positive mark on me. But such is the nature of hi-fi, and the DynAudio 10 definitely won't be for every audiophile. And I think that's what's been great about doing this group test. I've got to look at a lot of different, similar priced, even similar in a way designed speakers. And yet there are so many different sound profiles here that I'm hoping that I've covered something for pretty much everybody. I feel like there should be something here for the majority of you out there. So what comes next? Well, I'm going to do another massive comparison listening session between all of the speakers, and then I'll do a final conclusion review video to try and summarize everything and hopefully pick some winners from this group. And I'll also be doing a sound demo comparison between the DynAudio Evoke 10 and the SVS Ultra bookshelf speakers. Of course, that's the final demo to come. So there's still lots to see. There's even more reasons now to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you've enjoyed this review and this video, hit the thumbs up. And I'll see you soon. Nearly forgot my own lines. I'll see you soon. Thanks for watching. Take care. Bye.